Today, we're going to go over 6 reasons you might not survive living in Fayetteville, North Carolina. 6 reasons. Anybody can give you 5 reasons. Today, I'm going to give you 6 reasons. We're going to talk about healthcare costs, crime, job market, and the humidity, just to name a few things. If you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing in the Fayetteville area, please reach out to us. The team and I would love to help you. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the healthcare cost in Fayetteville. And yes, it is super expensive. For a family of 3 or more, it'll roughly cost you $2,100 a month. And if you're a single person, roughly $700 a month. Now, out of all 50 states, we are ranked number 42, 50 being the worst, which is West Virginia, number 1 being the best, which is Massachusetts. So why is the healthcare so high in Fayetteville, North Carolina? Well, there are several reasons, and according to walletHub.com, first one being that there are a lot of at-risk patients who are not going to the doctor regularly, which in turn drives up healthcare costs. Number 2, North Carolina in general is a very rural state. Of course, with Raleigh and Charlotte and things, 2 big cities in North Carolina probably. Everything else is relatively small, medium-sized city. Fayetteville being city itself, maybe 200,000 people living here. And of course, Cumberland County being maybe 230, 240,000 people living here. So not a lot of hospitals nearby, which in turn drives people to not go to the hospital as much because they're having to drive so far away. Another reason why is we have a lot of short-term patients. And what I mean by that is patients will get the healthcare they need. Once they're feeling better or getting healthy, they will then cancel their health insurance or stop making the payments. And the next reading is according to the North Carolina Journal, the North Carolina government mandates on health care, and the problem extends well beyond the benefit of needs. Government mandates increase the cost of health care, which increases the cost of insurance premiums. Next thing we talk about is going to be the crime in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Now, if you did not know, I'm a retired Fayetteville police officer with over 20 years of service, and I lived there for over 35 years. I know a little bit about the city, surrounding areas, and definitely Fayetteville in general. And I have to say, as a police officer, and I don't think it was as bad as people portray it to be. Now, of course, that depends on where you're coming from. If you come from New York or Los Angeles, definitely the crime here compared to those cities are probably going to be a complete 180. But as a real estate agent, due to the Fair Housing Act, I'm not allowed to give you my opinion. What I'll do is provide some data to you. Fayetteville, North Carolina was ranked number 6 as one of the worst cities in the United States to live. That means this city is more dangerous than 94% of the other cities in the United States, which is kind of concerning, even with us being next to Fort Liberty. The chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in North Carolina on average is 1 out of 235, but in Fayetteville, it's 1 out of 100. Now, hopefully this makes you feel a lot better. The crime rate has dropped in the past few years here in Fayetteville, but we are still 150% higher than the North Carolina average. In 2020, Fayetteville had an overall crime rate of 4,200 out of 100,000 people. Next thing I talk about is going to be hurricanes. Now, I lived here for over 35 years, and I never seen the hurricanes get so bad, except recently in the past 7, 8 years, they got a little worse. I'm a victim of Hurricane Matthew. Me and my family, our house got flooded. We live in Hope Mills, and we had about 3 to 4 feet of water in our house. We're on a crawl space, so we had really 6 feet in our house. We had that much in our garage. We didn't have flood insurance, and unfortunately we had to get a disaster loan through the government to rebuild our house. Of course, we have flood insurance now, but definitely if you're looking to buy a house in Fayetteville surrounding areas, make sure you've got flood insurance. You can get flood insurance. We are right next to a creek. Unfortunately, with the Raeford River got too full, obviously water rised and in turn flooded our house due to the creek behind it. So if you're worried about hurricanes, definitely if you're going to move to Fayetteville, make sure it's in an area not near a lake or a creek or something like that, or if you're not, make sure you're not too close to the Raeford River. And even after Hurricane Matthew hit us real bad in 2017, about 2 to 3 years later, we had Hurricane Florence come through, and the water came up right up to my mailbox. But it didn't go any farther than that, and luckily the hurricane obviously went out to sea. But 2 close calls and within 3 years of each other. Next thing I talk about is the lack of job opportunities here in Fayetteville. Now, if you're stationed at Fort Liberty, of course, the chances of you worrying about that there's not as much unless your spouse is looking to work. But our job market here is not as strong as Raleigh and Charlotte and bigger areas. Any other type of jobs are very limited, and usually it's dealing with retail. Unfortunately, there's a lack of job opportunities for people with college degrees, and usually that would be a plus or a positive, because then the chance of you getting a job there above anybody else is usually a little higher. But for Fayetteville, unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. Several people have said they've moved to the Fayetteville area with a doctorate or a bachelor's degree, hoping to find a good job. And due to the lack of jobs here for their degree, they had to move elsewhere. So definitely, if you're looking to move to the Fayetteville area, I definitely make sure you have a job lined up with the salary you want before you move here. Unless, of course, you're in the military. Because if you don't, you could be forced to get a lower paying job, which in turn, you will probably end up quitting and moving elsewhere. Now, of course, I've got some good news too. So if you are moving to Fayetteville because the cost of living is much better than wherever you're at, and you work remotely and you're gonna keep the same salary, that could be a plus for you. So definitely, if you're making, say, $50,000 a year and you live in Los Angeles or New York and you move here with the same type salary, obviously the cost of living is gonna be a lot better than in those cities, and you would be just fine here if you keep the same job and work remotely. And a lot of this is obviously due to COVID, and a lot of people are now just working remotely, getting rid of the office jobs, and these companies are saving money. Now, if you are going to move here, some of the top 5 places to work at is going to be Goodyear, Raeford Valley Medical Center, Fayetteville State University. We've also got Methodist College, and we've also got Fayetteville Tech Community College, and the Cumberland County Public Schools are also looking for teachers. And like I said earlier, I'm a retired Fayetteville police officer, definitely, so they are looking for some great police officers to join the police department. We've got the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, and we've got some civilian jobs with the city too, obviously. And with Fort Liberty having 49,000 active soldiers living here, we have a lot of civilian jobs, probably about 12,000 civilian jobs, include the commissary, the PX or BX, how you want to pronounce it, a lot of DOD jobs, and roughly over 5,000 contract employees at Fort Liberty. Next thing I talk about is going to be the humidity. Now, if you're not used to humidity, Fayetteville's going to be a shock to you because it gets really bad here every summer. I lived there for 35 years. Trust me, I know. Even I'm not got used to it. Days I walk out and it's great weather, and then by noontime, feels like it's maybe 90-95%, and the humidity is horrible. Throughout the year, the humidity is usually about 70%, but during the summertime, it can shoot up to 75% or more. Another bad thing about humidity, it makes molds grow quicker. So you're wiping out countertops and your car and things like that even more often than you would normally. And like I said, with the mold, it also affects your food. So you're definitely having to cook your food faster, not letting it sit out as much as often as you normally would. And from what I heard, it could change some recipes the way you cook your food too. Next thing I talk about is Fayetteville being a boring or nothing to do town. And I have to admit, there's not a lot to do here. I lived there for 35 years. I love living here. It doesn't bother me. And we're good centrally located. Fayetteville is. We're an hour and a half, 2 hours from Wilmington, which is the local beach. There's a lot of beaches there. You want to head to South Carolina, there's Myrtle Beach, which is about 2 hours away. We're only an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, depending where in Fayetteville you live, to Raleigh, which is the capital of North Carolina. A lot of things to do up there, malls, restaurants, more variety of restaurants, museums and things like that. And Charlotte's about 2.5, 3 hours away. So if you want to head to Charlotte, it's not the capital of North Carolina. It's a little bigger than Raleigh. So definitely, we're not too far away. Asheville, Boone Mountains, maybe 4 hours away. Centrally located, and I like that, where we're a medium-sized city, but not a lot of things to do here. Not a lot of family-oriented things to do here. Now, they did recently open up Main Event, which is like a brother-sister company of Dave & Buster's at the mall. You got a few trampoline parks around town, a lot of walking trails, Caper River Trail, a lot of parks. They just recently opened up another dog park. I don't have a dog, but now we have 2 dog parks here locally here in Fayetteville. And of course, we've got the minor league baseball team, the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. So Fayetteville is growing. At a slow pace, but we're growing, and I see more and more things coming that are going to be family oriented, hopefully, especially with the military base being here and a lot of military families living here. And of course, if you're single, again, not much of a nightlife here. You have a few bars, and there's a lot of things to do downtown. But in general, not a lot of clubs or anything like that. So if you're looking for something like that, it's going to be tough to find. You really have to travel to Raleigh, like I said, to look for anything more fun if you're looking at that single life. Now, Fayetteville itself is a good medium-sized city, but we do have some rural areas. We've got Raeford, we've got Stedman, we got Eastover, Spring Lake, and a lot of country or rural life in the Cumberland County, which Fayetteville's in Cumberland County. So, if you're looking for that big city life and being 5-10 minutes away from the grocery store, you definitely want to buy a house in Fayetteville or even Hope Mills. Hope Mills is growing. I live in Hope Mills. But if you don't mind, a good 15-20 minute drive to the grocery store, or if you just want acres of land and be away from people, definitely Fayetteville, surrounding areas is a place to be. It's just we have a lot of rural country areas, so if that's something you're looking for, you definitely can find it here. If you enjoyed this video, please check out this video right here that YouTube recommends for you. And if you're looking to buying, selling, or investing in the Fayetteville area, please reach out to me. Love to help you. See you guys in the next video.